Black bookshop owner was framed for theft until the stranger who flirted with her opened a hidden safe. Zuri Bennett had built her bookshop with her own hands. Not metaphorically, literally. The paint on the skirting boards still held the faint fingerprint marks from when she refused to hire a contractor she could not afford. The shelves were reclaimed wood she sanded down after closing time. The warm lamps were charity shop finds, rewired by a friend who owed her a favor. And on most nights, when the world outside got loud and careless, Zuri's little shop stayed quiet and safe. A place where words meant something. A place where people could breathe. But on the night that changed everything, Zuri stood frozen in the middle of her own shop while strangers stared at her like she was a criminal. A security guard held out a gloved hand like he expected her to confess. A woman in pearls whispered, "I knew it." A man in a designer coat smirked as if her downfall was entertainment. And the worst part was this. The person who looked most disappointed was the one man Zuri had started to trust. Elias Kane, the mysterious customer with the calm smile, the expensive taste in old books, and the habit of showing up when Zuri was tired. The man who flirted with her like it was a secret. The man who left her a handwritten note that said, "I see you." Zuri thought Elias had come to save her, until the head detective walked in, looked straight at Elias and said, "Are we doing this the easy way, or do you want me to tell her who you really are?" And in that moment, Zuri's heart didn't just sink, it cracked, because whatever was happening in her shop was bigger than theft, bigger than embarrassment, bigger than her. And the truth was standing right in front of her, waiting. The shop was called Melanated Stories because Zuri was tired of pretending she didn't notice what was missing in most book windows. She curated the shelves like an argument. Black authors at eye level, not hidden in a corner. Poetry that sounded like home. Romance that didn't treat black love like a trend. History told by people who lived it, not people who profited from rewriting it. Zuri didn't just sell books. She hosted evenings, small events, spoken word, quiet book clubs that felt like therapy without the paperwork. And because the city loved to pretend it was progressive, her little shop became popular. At least popular enough for people to take pictures. Not always popular enough for them to respect her. Some customers walked in and spoke slowly, like Zuri was a child playing shopkeeper. Some asked to speak to the owner while she was standing right there behind the counter. Some smiled too brightly and said things like, "I just adore what you're doing." It's so inspiring, like her life was a charity project, but Zuri had learned how to move through those moments. She lifted her chin, kept her tone calm, and reminded herself she built this place from nothing, so nobody could make her feel small in it. Then came the invitation. A cream envelope, thick paper, expensive ink. It was from the Ashford Literary Society, a private members club known for its gala auctions. Once a year, they hosted a high-profile event that raised money for literacy programs. Lots of press, lots of donors, lots of people who liked the sound of generosity more than the work of it. They wanted Zuri to curate a small display of rare black literature for the auction and to speak briefly about why representation mattered. It was a big opportunity, the kind of opportunity that could change the shop's future. It also felt like a trap, because every time Zuri stepped into spaces like that, she had to work twice as hard just to be treated normally. Still, she said yes, because rent was rent, and because she wanted her shop to outlive struggle. On the day the invitation arrived, she pinned it behind the counter and stared at it like it might disappear. That's when the bell above the door chimed, and Elias Kane walked in for the first time. Elias didn't enter like most customers. He didn't rush. He didn't call out. He paused at the doorway and looked around the shop like he was stepping into a church. Tall, mid-30s, clean lines, calm eyes, neat beard, clothes that looked simple, but expensive in the way some people wore quiet money. He took in the shelves, the posters, and the handwritten staff pics. Then he walked up to the counter and smiled. "I've been trying to find this place for weeks," he said. Zuri raised an eyebrow. "It's on Google." Elias laughed, a low sound. "I know, but it felt like one of those places you have to find properly." Zuri didn't know why that line landed, but it did. "What are you looking for?" she asked. Elias tilted his head, thinking. "Something that feels like honesty," he said. Zuri studied him for a second. "That's vague," he shrugged. "I'm a vague man." She tried not to smile. Tried. "All right, vague man," Zuri said. "Fiction or nonfiction?" Elias leaned an elbow on the counter like he had all the time in the world. "Both," he said. "But I prefer books that don't pretend pain is poetic." Zuri's expression softened slightly. She stepped from behind the counter. "Come on," she said. "I've got a shelf for that." She led him to a section near the back, where the lighting was warmer and the city noise felt far away. Elias walked beside her, hands in his pockets, not trying to touch her, not trying to impress her, just present. Zuri pulled out a few books, read him short descriptions, watched his face react. He didn't perform interest. He actually listened. Then he picked up a novel and turned it over slowly. "This one," he said. Zuri's lips curved. "Good choice." "I know," she said, meeting her eyes. "You picked it." When he paid, he didn't ask for a discount or make a joke about supporting small businesses. He simply said, "Thank you." Then he paused. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Depends," Zuri replied. Elias nodded towards the invitation pinned behind the counter. "Ashford Literary Society," he read aloud. "Are you speaking there?" Zuri's shoulders tensed slightly. "Maybe." Elias's expression didn't change, but his eyes sharpened with something like concern. "Be careful," he said. Zuri frowned. "Why?" Elias hesitated, like he was weighing words. "They like good stories," he said carefully. "They're not always good people." Zuri stared at him. "Do you know them?" she asked. Elias smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Enough." Before Zuri could press him, Elias reached into his pocket and slid something onto the counter. A small folded note. Zuri opened it. 2 words. "I see you." She looked up, startled. Elias's expression was calm, almost gentle. "It's not flirting," he said. "Not really." Zuri's throat tightened, annoyed at herself for feeling it. "What is it then?" she asked. Elias met her gaze. "It's recognition," he said. Then he walked out into the evening, rain just beginning to mist the pavement, and for the first time in a long time, Zuri stood behind her counter feeling something dangerous. Curiosity. Elias came back 2 days later, then again a week later, always buying something, always choosing books with care, sometimes staying to talk, not about surface-level nonsense, about characters, about grief, about love written properly. Zuri told herself it was harmless, a customer with good taste, a man with a calm voice and eyes that paid attention. But then the shop started feeling watched. It began with small things. A book out of place when she was sure she'd shelved it. A drawer slightly open in the back office. A faint scuff mark on the floor near the storage cupboard. Zuri blamed stress. The upcoming Ashford event had her nerves tight. She was sourcing rare editions, cataloging them, insuring them, triple-checking everything. She had to deliver the collection to Ashford in 2 weeks. The rarest item was a first edition poetry book, fragile and valuable, the kind collectors fought over. Zuri kept it locked away in a small safe hidden behind a false panel in the office. Only she knew it was there. Then one night after closing, she noticed something that made her skin go cold. The false panel had a hairline gap, a tiny sliver of darkness that hadn't been there before. Zuri's pulse jumped. She pressed her fingers to the edge. The panel shifted slightly. Someone had tried to open it. Zuri took a slow breath and forced her hand steady. She checked the safe. Still locked. Still intact. But her stomach twisted, because it meant someone knew. Someone had been in her office, and the only people with keys were her part-time assistant, and the landlord. Zuri checked the locks, checked the back door, checked the windows. Nothing obvious. She slept badly. The next day, Elias came in. Zuri tried to act normal. Tried. Elias walked to the counter, glanced at her face, and went still. "You're tense," he said. Zuri forced a laugh. "I'm always tense." Elias shook his head slightly. "Not like this." Zuri looked away. "I'm fine." Elias didn't push. He never pushed. He picked up a book, paid, then hesitated. "Is something happening here?" he asked quietly. Zuri met his eyes. For a moment, she considered telling him. Then she remembered what he said about Ashford. "Be careful." And something in her tightened. "How do you know about Ashford?" she asked. Elias's expression didn't change, but there was a pause. "A friend," he said. "What friend?" Zuri pressed. Elias's gaze softened. "You don't trust me?" Zuri crossed her arms. "Should I?" Elias studied her for a long beat. Then he sighed. "I'm not here to harm you," he said. "But I can't explain everything yet." Zuri's stomach flipped. Yet. That word wasn't reassuring. It was suspicious. "It's not," Zuri said, voice shaking with fury. "I would never." And then security arrived. 2 men in suits. Hard eyes. One of them looked at Zuri like he already decided. "We need you to come with us," he said. Zuri's stomach dropped. Guests started to notice the commotion. Whispers spread like fire. Zuri looked around, heart pounding. Then she saw Damien across the room, watching, smiling slightly, like he was enjoying the show. And then she saw Elias. Elias was moving toward her, fast. His face was unreadable. Zuri felt a surge of relief and betrayal at the same time. Because if Elias was connected to them, was he helping her? Or was he part of it? Security took Zuri's arm. Zuri jerked away. "Don't touch me," she snapped. The room went quiet. Too quiet. Dozens of eyes turned, phones lifted subtly. Damien stepped forward, voice smooth. "Miss Bennett," he said, loud enough for people to hear. "I'm sure this is a misunderstanding." Zuri glared at him. "Is it?" Damien's smile stayed polite. "We simply need to locate the book." Zuri's voice trembled, but she kept it controlled. "You think I stole it?" she said. "Say it." Damien's eyes flicked around the crowd. He didn't want to say it, but he wanted it to be believed. Elias stepped beside her. "Leave her alone," Elias said. Damien's smile tightened. "Elias, stay out of this." Elias's voice stayed calm. "No." Security hesitated. Elias looked at the guard holding Zuri. "Let go," he said softly. The guard blinked. "Sir, we have procedure." Elias's gaze hardened slightly. "Let go." The guard released Zuri. Damien's eyes narrowed. "Interesting," he said. "You're choosing her." Zuri turned to Elias, voice low. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. Elias met her eyes. "Because you didn't steal anything," he said. Zuri's stomach dropped. "You're sure?" she whispered. Elias's jaw tightened. Yes, he said, and I can prove it, but you need to trust me. Zuri's breath caught. Trust him, now, in front of everyone, with a reputation on the line. And then a voice sliced through the room. A man in a long coat, badge clipped to his belt, walking in with purpose. Detective Lyle Morrison. He looked straight at Zuri, and then at the security, then at Elias, and he said the sentence that made Zuri's heart crack. Are we doing this the easy way, Mr. Kane, or do you want me to tell her who you really are? Zuri froze. Mr. Kane, detective. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a setup. And Elias was in the middle of it. Zuri's voice came out thin. Who are you? She whispered. Elias closed his eyes for a fraction of a second, then opened them and looked at her with something like regret. My name is Elias Kane, he said quietly, and I'm here because Ashford isn't raising money for literacy. Zuri's stomach turned. What? She whispered. Elias's voice was calm, but the air around him shifted. They're laundering money through the auction, Elias said, and that book is part of it. Damien laughed, sharp and dismissive. This is insane. Detective Morrison stepped forward. It's not insane, he said. It's an investigation. Zuri's mind raced. Elias turned to her. I didn't want you involved, he said, but Damien forced it. Zuri's eyes burned. You used me, she said. Elias flinched. No, but his hesitation was enough. Zuri took a step back like his words were heat. Damien smiled wider. Look at that, Damien said softly. The truth always comes out. Elias's eyes went cold. You're not getting away with this, Elias said. Damien spread his hands. Prove it. They moved Zuri into a private room. Not a cell, but it felt like one. Detective Morrison asked questions. Where was the book last? Who had access? Did she know Damien? Did she know Elias? Zuri answered with a controlled voice, but her hand shook. Elias stood in the corner, silent. Zuri could feel his presence like a bruise. Finally, Morrison ended the questioning. We're going to search the building, he said. If the book turns up in your possession, Miss Bennett, you'll be charged. Zuri's stomach dropped. I didn't take it, she said fiercely. Morrison nodded slightly. Then help yourself by telling me everything you know. Zuri looked at Elias. Everything? She repeated. Elias stepped forward slowly. I'll tell you, Elias said. Zuri's eyes narrowed. Now you want to tell the truth. Elias's jaw tightened. I wanted to keep you safe, he said. Zuri laughed bitterly. Safe? She snapped. You brought me into a room full of rich people who already wanted a reason to hate me? Elias swallowed. I didn't bring you, he said quietly. I came to the shop because I wanted to see if you were real. And you were. That's why this got harder. Zuri's throat tightened. You came to test me, she whispered. Elias's eyes held hers. At first, he admitted. Yes. Zuri's heart sank. Detective Morrison watched, expression unreadable. Elias exhaled. I'm not police, Elias said. I work private investigations. Financial crime, corporate fraud. Zuri stared at him, disgusted and hurt. So you were playing bookstore boyfriend, she said, to get close to Ashford. Elias flinched. No, I wasn't playing. Zuri scoffed. Then what was it? Elias's voice softened. It was the first time in years I forgot what I came for, he said. Because you felt like peace. Zuri's eyes stung, but she refused to show it. Detective Morrison interrupted. Enough, he said. We need results. A knock came at the door. An officer stepped in, tense. We found something, he said. Zuri's stomach dropped. Morrison stood. Where? He asked. The officer's gaze flicked to Zuri. "In the staff cloakroom," he said. "Inside Miss Bennett's tote." Zuri went cold. "That's impossible," she whispered. Elias's face hardened. Morrison's eyes narrowed. "Miss Bennett," he said, voice dangerous. "Are you sure you want to stick with I don't know?" Zuri's hand shook. "I didn't put it there," she said. Elias stepped forward. "She didn't," he said firmly. Morrison looked at him. "You can't know that." Elias's eyes turned sharp. "Yes, I can," Elias said. "Because Damien's done this before." Morrison paused. "What?" he asked. Elias turned to Zuri. "I need you to listen," he said. The signet ring. The camera still. The manager's shop. That was Damien. Zuri swallowed. Elias continued. "Damien uses the same move every time," he said. "He plants an item on someone with less power. Someone that nobody will defend." Zuri's throat tightened. "So he framed me," she whispered. Elias nodded. Morrison's expression shifted. "Do you have proof?" he asked Elias. Elias reached into his jacket. He pulled out a small USB drive. "I do," he said. Damien had been sloppy because he was arrogant. He assumed Zuri would fold. He assumed the story would be black shop owner steals rare book. He assumed the room would accept it without question. But Elias had been watching. And the truth was, Elias came to Ashford tonight expecting corruption. He just didn't expect to care who got crushed by it. Elias looked at Morrison. "There are cameras in the corridor outside the cloakroom," he said. "If you pull the footage, you'll see Damien's assistant go in with Zuri's tote and come out without it." Morrison's eyes narrowed. "Get the footage," he snapped. The officer rushed out. Zuri sat down hard, breath shaky. Elias knelt slightly in front of her, not touching. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. Zuri's voice was bitter. "Are you?" Elias nodded. "Yes." Zuri laughed once, hollow. "You didn't stop it?" Elias's eyes tightened. "I couldn't expose myself too soon." Zuri stared at him. "Too soon," she repeated. "So you let them humiliate me?" Elias's voice dropped. "I didn't plan that." Zuri shook her head, tears threatening. "You were prepared to let me get arrested," she said. Elias flinched, then said the truth. "I was prepared to burn Damien," he said. "I didn't think he'd use you as the match." Zuri's lips trembled. She hated that part of her still wanted to believe him. Morrison returned minutes later, holding a tablet. His face was hard. He turned it to Zuri. Video footage. Damien's assistant carrying Zuri's tote, slipping the rare book inside. Walking away, Zuri's breath came out sharp. Morrison looked at Elias. "You were right," he said. Then Morrison's eyes went colder. "Now we do it properly," he said. They brought Zuri back into the main hall. The auction had paused. Guests were murmuring, restless, hungry for drama. Damien stood near the stage, smiling like a man who believed he'd already won. Elias walked beside Zuri, not too close, but present. Detective Morrison stepped up and lifted a hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said loudly, "the auction is suspended." The crowd gasped. Damien's smile tightened. "Detective, this is embarrassing." Morrison stared at him. "What's embarrassing?" Morrison said. "Is you thinking this building is above the law?" Damien's jaw tightened slightly. "I have donors here." Morrison nodded. "Good. They can witness what happens next." Morrison looked to his team. "Bring in the footage," he said. A screen behind the stage lit up. The footage played. Damien's assistant. Zuri's tote. The book planted. The room went still. Whispers turned into shock. Damien's face tightened. He laughed, trying to sound amused. "This is absurd," he said. "That's not my assistant." Morrison's voice stayed calm. "It is," he said. "And she's already agreed to talk." Damien's smile cracked. Elias stepped forward slightly. And the money laundering, Elias said, voice carrying. That's real too. Damien's eyes snapped to him. You, Damien hissed. Elias's gaze stayed steady. You used the auction to move money, Elias said. You hid transactions through rare items. You sold donations that never reached any charity. You used the society as a mask. Damien tried to laugh again. Prove it, he said. Morrison nodded. We will, he said, because we have the ledger. Damien's eyes widened for half a second, then he masked it. What ledger? Damien demanded. Elias's voice was quiet. The one you kept in the safe behind the portrait in your private office. Elias said. The room murmured. Damien's face went pale. Because that safe was supposed to be a secret. Zuri stared at Elias, stunned. He knew too much. Elias's eyes flicked to Zuri briefly. I told you, he said softly. They like good stories. They just never expect the ending to change. Morrison stepped forward. Damien Ashford, he said, you are under arrest for fraud, obstruction, and conspiracy. The room erupted. Damien's face contorted. This is a setup, he snapped. This is... Then he looked at Zuri, and the hate in his eyes sharpened. This is her fault, he said, loud enough for everyone. She's the thief. She's the one who brought this mess here. Zuri's chest tightened. For a second, it felt like the room might believe him anyway. Because sometimes truth didn't matter as much as bias, until a woman in the crowd stood up. A donor. An older black woman in a silver dress. She raised her chin. No, she said, voice calm. This is your fault. The room turned toward her. She pointed at the screen. We all saw the footage. She said, we all saw the lie. Damien's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Another voice joined. A man, white-haired, wealthy, furious. If my donation was used for your scheme, he snarled, you're finished. The crowd shifted. Damien looked around, realizing his power was dissolving, because nothing scared these people like being associated with scandal. And suddenly, the room that had watched Zuri like she was a criminal was watching Damien like he was contamination. Damien's assistant was brought in, trembling. She confessed. Damien tried to fight. He tried to charm. He tried to threaten. But he was dragged away anyway. And Zuri stood in the middle of the hall, heart pounding, breath shaky, feeling something unfamiliar. Vindication and grief, because she wasn't celebrating. She was exhausted. Elias stepped closer. Are you all right? He asked quietly. Zuri's voice was cold. No. Elias swallowed. Zuri, he said softly. I'm sorry. Zuri stared at him. Do you know what hurts? She asked. It's not just the framing. Elias's eyes held hers. It's that I liked you, Zuri said, voice cracking. And now I don't know what was real. Elias's throat tightened. It was real, he said. Zuri's laugh was bitter. Was it? She whispered. Or was I just convenient? Elias shook his head. Then he did something Zuri didn't expect. He stepped back. Not defensive, not offended. He lowered his voice. You don't owe me forgiveness, he said. You don't owe me anything. Zuri blinked. Elias continued. But I'm going to make sure you're safe. And I'm going to make sure your shop doesn't pay for their corruption. Zuri stared at him. How? She asked. Elias looked toward Morrison. Because the truth is, Elias said, Ashford wasn't the only one watching you. Zuri frowned. Elias nodded toward the crowd. The people who dismissed you, he said. The people who whispered. They just saw themselves on the wrong side of the story. Zuri's stomach tightened. Elias's voice was calm. And they're terrified, he said, because they know what goes viral now. The aftermath moved fast. News hit social media before the gala even ended. Literary Society trustee arrested mid-auction. Charity gala used for fraud. Clips of Zuri being escorted. Clips of the footage. Clips of Damien being taken away. Zuri went home that night numb. She didn't sleep. Her shop had been her safe place, and now it felt exposed. By morning, reporters were outside. Not many, but enough. Zuri didn't open the shop. She sat in her office with the lights off and her phone face down. Her assistant texted, "Are we okay?" Zuri didn't know how to answer. A knock came on the shop door. Zuri froze. Then she heard Elias's voice, muffled through glass. "Zuri, it's me." Zuri didn't move. "Zuri," Elias said again. "I'm not coming in. I just need you to know something." Zuri finally walked to the front, staying behind the glass. Elias stood outside holding a paper bag, rain misting lightly. He looked tired. Not polished, human. Zuri cracked the door slightly. "What?" she asked. Elias lifted the bag. "Coffee," he said, "and a croissant. You said you forget to eat when you're stressed?" Zuri's throat tightened. Elias didn't smile. "I'm not here to charm you," he said. "I'm here because you're going to get targeted now." Zuri's eyes narrowed. "By who?" Elias's voice stayed calm. "By people who benefited from Damien," he said. "Or people who are scared you'll talk." Zuri stared at him. "I don't know anything," she whispered. Elias nodded. "They don't care," he said. "They care what you represent." Zuri's stomach twisted. Elias continued. "Morrison will protect you as a witness, but I wanted you to hear it from me," he said. "You're not alone." Zuri's eyes stung. She hated that she wanted to believe him. "What do you want from me?" she asked, voice sharp to hide the shake. Elias's gaze was steady. "Nothing," he said. Zuri blinked. Elias exhaled. "I wanted to know you," he said. "I did get to know you, and then I ruined it by not being honest soon enough." Zuri's jaw tightened. Elias's voice softened. "I'm not going to pressure you," he said, "but I am going to make it right in the only way I can. With action." Zuri scoffed. "What action?" Elias looked at the shop sign. "Your lease," he said. Zuri frowned. "What about it?" Elias swallowed. "I checked," he admitted, "and your landlord has been raising rent illegally. He's been betting you won't fight." Zuri's stomach dropped. Elias continued quickly, like he didn't want to sound like a savior. "I have an attorney who will file today," he said. "And Morrison's team is going to connect the landlord to Ashford's money. It's all tangled." Zuri stared at him, stunned. "You did all that overnight?" she asked. Elias nodded once. Zuri's throat tightened. "Why?" she asked. Elias met her eyes. "Because I hurt you," he said, "and I don't get to apologize with words." Zuri looked down, fighting emotion. Elias lifted the bag slightly. "Coffee?" he repeated gently. Zuri hesitated, then took it. Their fingers brushed. Zuri pulled back quickly, like touch was too dangerous. Elias stepped away. "I'll leave," he said, "but I'm going to ask one thing." Zuri's eyes narrowed. "What?" Elias held her gaze. "When you're ready," he said, "let me tell you my story without the investigation in the middle of it." Zuri swallowed. "And if I'm not ready?" she asked. Elias nodded. "Then I'll still be glad I met you," he said. He turned to go, then paused. "And Zuri," he said softly, "I did see you." He tapped his chest once. "Before any of this," he said. "I saw you." Then he walked away. Zuri stood in the doorway holding coffee, rain mist touching her face, feeling furious and relieved and sad all at once. Because love, real love, did not arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrived with accountability and patience. The next weeks were messy. Damien's arrest opened doors and exposed rot. Ashford's donors scrambled to distance themselves. Some sent Zuri flowers with apologies that sounded like marketing. Zuri threw most of them away. She didn't want guilt bouquets. She wanted respect when nobody was watching. Detective Morrison checked in regularly. Zuri provided statements. Her shop slowly reopened. People came in to support, some genuinely, some for curiosity. Zuri learned to spot the difference. Elias didn't come back. Not once. He didn't flood her phone. He didn't send dramatic messages. He did what he said he'd do. He stayed away. And somehow, that hurt more than if he chased her, because it meant he was serious about boundaries. One evening after closing, Zuri found an envelope under the door. No returned address. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a handwritten letter. Not typed, not printed. Ink. Zuri's breath caught as she read. Elias wrote about his mother who loved books but never had the money for them. About how she worked cleaning offices at night and still read him stories in the morning, exhausted but determined. About how he grew up watching powerful men treat women like his mother as invisible. About how he made a promise to himself to never become one of them. Then he wrote the line that made Zuri's throat tighten. I became good at exposing bad people. I was not as good at being transparent with the good ones. He wrote that he liked Zuri before he knew he liked her, that she felt like safety, that he didn't expect to want something real, and that wanting something real scared him more than any threat he'd ever faced. At the bottom of the letter was one sentence. No pressure, no demands. I'm here if you ever want coffee that's just coffee. Zuri read it twice. Then she sat down in the quiet shop and cried. Not because she was weak, because she had been strong for too long. A week later, Zuri saw Elias again. Not at the shop, at a small independent book fair across town. Zuri was browsing quietly when she felt someone beside her. She turned. Elias. No suit, no polished aura, just a jacket and tired eyes. He smiled, gentle. Hi, he said. Zuri's heart kicked. Hi, she replied, guarded. Elias nodded the book in her hand. You're buying it, he said. Zuri raised an eyebrow. You don't know that. Elias's smile deepened slightly. I do, he said, because you only hold books like that when you already decided. Zuri rolled her eyes, but her mouth twitched. Elias's gaze softened. I'll leave you alone, he said quickly. I just wanted to... He hesitated. See if you're okay, he finished. Zuri studied him. He looked nervous. Not fake nervous. Real. Zuri took a breath. I'm okay, she said. Elias nodded. Good. Zuri's voice was quiet. And you? She asked. Elias blinked, surprised. He exhaled. Not great, he admitted. But better than I deserve. Zuri swallowed. For a moment they stood in silence between stacks of books and soft music. Then Zuri said it. You lied to me, she said calmly. Elias nodded immediately. Yes. Zuri's eyes held his. You used me, she said. Elias flinched. At first I used the shop to watch Ashford. I didn't use you, but I understand why it feels like I did. Zuri's jaw tightened. Elias continued softly. I should have told you sooner, he said. I was wrong. Zuri stared at him. Then she said the truth. I liked you, she whispered. Elias's eyes softened. I know, he said, and I'm sorry. Zuri exhaled. I don't know if I can trust you, she said. Elias nodded. Fair. Zuri's voice was steadier now. But I also don't want to punish myself forever for being open, she said, because that's what men like Damien do. They make you close. Elias watched her with respect. Zuri continued. So here's what's going to happen. she said. Elias's eyebrows rose slightly. Zuri's lips curved faintly. If you want a chance, it will be slow, she said. Honest. No secrets. Elias nodded, almost relieved. Yes, he said. Anything? Zuri held his gaze. And if you ever lie again, she said, voice calm but sharp, you won't get a dramatic goodbye. Elias swallowed. I won't, he said. Zuri nodded. Coffee, she said. Elias blinked. Now. Zuri shrugged. It's just coffee. Elias smiled, quiet and real. Okay, he said. Just coffee. And as they walked out into the evening, Zuri realized something. The best kind of romance wasn't the kind that rescued you. It was the kind that respected you. The kind that stayed when the drama ended. The kind that chose truth, even when truth cost comfort. Because Zuri didn't need saving. She needed partnership. And Elias, for the first time in his life, looked like a man ready to earn it. If you believe real love starts with honesty, type honest in the comments. And if you've ever been judged before you got to explain yourself, share this story with someone who needs a reminder that the truth still wins.